Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Sydney, Australia. I hope you're having a fabulous start to your day. I certainly am. I certainly am. It is windy. It is blowing up a storm here, but my goodness, it's been a fabulous start to the day. And I hope you've had a great start to the day. Now, I'm just sharing with you our end of financial year sale that is now currently on. You can get 30% off our prebiotics in store, which of course is our sweet as fiber syrup, which is our prebiotic dietary fiber syrup. That is 30% off. Biggest sale we've ever had on this product, by the way. And our pure as inulin powder is also 30% off. In store now until the end of the year. Get yours now. Once we are sold out, we are sold out. So that sale will continue until we've sold out. And we're getting close already. So I thought I would share that with you guys just to make sure that you do not miss out. And a very good morning to you. I hope you're well. Good morning to Sandra. Good morning to Vicky. And good morning to Adele as well. Hope you guys are good. Hope you've had a great start to your morning. I got to go shopping. Oh, I left it in the car. I should have showed you. I wanted to show you what I bought. I forgot I left it in the car. I came straight from the store, straight here into the office to do a couple of hours work before I head back to my kitchen to start recipe testing for our Boost Camp 6. And I've got a new favorite veggie shop. And I know it's just the weirdest of things, but I do have a new favorite veggie shop. It's not the easiest veggie shop to get into. It's in a mall, and I don't particularly. I'm not fond of mall shopping for obvious reasons. I mean, unless of course you are fond of mall shopping, but I'm just not. I don't like crowds. I'm not big on having to fight for car park spaces, etc., etc. But this veggie shop, unfortunately, it's in a mall, so I've got to bite the bullet and go into mall parking and fight the crowds. But it was early this morning. Like I just parked right at the front. I walked down the little ramp, and there I am in front of my favorite veggie shop. The veggie shop was empty. I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. Because that's the other thing about mall shopping, right? A lot of people don't turn up to all the shops are open. But supermarkets and veggie shops, they tend to open a lot faster, or the fresh food places. So I felt like I had the whole place to myself. It was brilliant. But what they actually had, they had a bag of white turnips, a big bag of, normally you'd buy like a turnip. One turnip will cost you like $5, right? They're quite expensive. And they had a whole bag of white turnips, like a big bag. Oh, here's my hands. A big bag of white turnips for $5, $4.95. Oh, that was my bargain of the day. I got to buy turnips. They also had in this particular veggie shop. And if you are based in Sydney and you want to know which one I'm talking about, there's no point in me mentioning it unless, of course, you are based in Sydney. It is in Miranda, which is in the southern part of Sydney in the Shire. And they also had lupin beans, cooked lupin beans in jars, which I grabbed as well. So some great fresh herbs that I'm using, lots of herbs in the new Boost Camp. I was able to pick up some beautiful fresh spices, which I'm going to be using in the new Boost Camp as well. So it was just a good all-round day of shopping this morning, and I was all done and dusted and back in the warehouse by 9:00. I really like that. So saying good morning also, who else we got here? Let me throw up my little, there we go. I can see Debbie and Carol who's joining us, Claudia, Cherie and Georgina as well. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you guys are having a fabulous start to your day. Now, what we are talking about this morning is actually the start of the day. So I want to talk a little bit about breakfasts and whether your breakfast is potentially betraying you. And is that morning meal also possibly sabotaging your health? Now, it is something that I have long been an advocate for, which is getting breakfast right. And the reason I'm such an advocate of getting breakfast right is because of how wrong I got it for the first, 4 decades of my life. And when I reflect now, the power of reflection as someone who has come a long way since, 9, 10 years ago, nearly 10 years ago. I've come a long way in terms of my approach to food, the relationship I have with food. And I think one of the most startling changes in relationships when it comes to those meals that I would consume during the day, one of the most startling one is my relationship with breakfast now and how I feel about breakfast. So we're going to break it down. I'm actually going to share with you guys some five really shocking truths when it comes to breakfast. And we're going to discuss whether your meal is sabotaging you, how you can potentially improve it if you need to, and what really does either set us up for a good day or potentially put us on the sabotage for the rest of the day as well. So breakfast is an important topic. And like I said, I got it wrong for so long. Goodness me. It was pretty shocking. So I'm gonna share some science with you guys today when it comes to breakfast and what that looks like, what it should look like, what it currently looks like, and why. Why is it that we get breakfast so wrong? Why is it? Are we silly? Are we uneducated? Are we lacking in knowledge? Like, why is it that we get it so wrong? Considering it's often, the first meal of the day. So we're going to be talking about that this morning. And a good morning to Joe. I can see Joe and Cheryl as well, who is joining us. Now, if you have any questions, please ask questions in the chat there. I should have my lovely moderator joining me soon who can answer in real time. But if you've got questions for me, please let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions. This is what this moment is for. When I do these live podcasts with you guys, it's a sharing of knowledge. It's a sharing of community. So we get a chance to kind of hang out as a community. Good morning to Debbie as well. I can see Debbie. So we get to hang out as a community. But also, you guys get to ask questions. This is a really good time if you do have questions, because sometimes I may not be online for the rest of the day if I've got a lot going on. And I do have a lot going on at the moment. I've got lots going on at the moment. I've got heaps. Not sure if you guys are aware. We have we have an end of financial year sale on. That looks like that. Yes, 30% off fiber syrup and inulin powder. We also have introduced our Boost Protocol subscription model, which means that if you want to lock in the low price of Boost Protocol, the introductory price before it goes up, and it will go up because it has to. It was introductory price. If you want to lock that in, all you need to do is subscribe to Boost Protocol. And you get to lock in that price. You get to decide whether you want 1 jar delivered to you a month, 2 jars, 3 jars, whatever, 4 jars, whatever you want. We're also running that. I am running in conjunction with that subscription model. I'm running a competition for you to win a holiday worth over 25,000 Australian dollars for you and your bestie. So that's a trip to Thailand that's happening in October. I have a retreat that's going on as well. If you want to come and join me on our fabulous Thailand retreat, I mean, you could enter the competition, and if you win, I will pay for you to come to the retreat for you and your bestie. And I'll also make sure that you spend a bit of time, before the retreat in Phuket, before the retreat in Bangkok, hanging out, shopping, eating, looking around, sightseeing, doing all that sort of beautiful stuff. If you want to lie next to on the beach, you can do that too. So, but if you just want to make sure that you don't miss out on our retreat, and it's my hands-on healing retreat, then you can come along to my retreat. All you got to do is go to my store. I'll put it on here, Bridget's.shop. If you just Google Bridget's dot, as in the dot shop, my store will come up. So my store, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen Store. You can apply or register for our retreat. We have a couple of rooms available, still available. They won't last long. You can go to the store and do that. If you want to become a subscription member of our Boost Protocol, just go to my store and you can do that as well. So there's lots going on. I'm also creating the recipes for Boost Camp 6 at the moment. We just launched Boost Camp 5 last week. So there's a lot going on. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. I absolutely love it. I love the busy. I love the exquisite mayhem that comes along with being someone who is dedicated, firstly, to me. I'm dedicated to my health. I'm dedicated to my body. I'm dedicated to looking after myself. Call it selfish. I don't care. I'm selfish. I'm dedicated to that. So that in itself is quite busy, right? I need to do things every single day that looks after my body, looks after my brain, looks after my gut, looks after my weight, looks after what makes me feel good, what makes me feel spectacular. I'm dedicated to that. Takes a bit of time. I'm also dedicated to you guys, dedicated to this business. But without helping myself, there's no way I could help anyone. And it's something that I bring up quite often when I have these chats. I start to talk about like what it used to be like pre being healthy. And I couldn't look after myself, let alone look after my own family, let alone look after my kids properly, let alone look after my job properly, my career. I was kind of just hanging on from day to day and hoping that, that I get through the day so I could wake up and do it all over again. I had absolutely no ability to even do the basics of looking after myself. So because I wasn't looking after myself, I was really unhealthy. I was in a bad place. My mental health was also in a bad place. My body was in a bad place. The aches and the pains and the exhaustion and the depression, not to mention the fatty liver and the pre-diabetes diagnosis, not to mention how limp my hair was, how terrible my skin was. I had massive acne breakouts. I just looked puffy and inflamed. I felt like I was just holding on. And I wasn't looking after myself. Yet I was trying to kind of look after other things, and I was doing a pretty half attempt at everything, to be honest with you. And when I made that decision, that one decision which changed my life, and I don't want to understate that. It's a very important statement of mine. When I decided to look after myself, it changed my life. When I decided to get just a little bit selfish, when I decided to put me first, when I decided that I had to stop coming up with excuses, and it was all my own excuses. Don't have time, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, it's too expensive to eat healthy. I had every excuse you could possibly imagine. Because at the time that we started this, when I started looking after myself, we were a one-income family. And so the thought of eating healthy, I was like, I just can't afford it. It's so expensive, blah, blah, blah. I just had every excuse under the sun. And because I was so full of excuses, I completely stopped looking after me in any way, shape, or form. And the result was a person that if I had carried on, like if I hadn't made that decision, nearly a decade ago. So we're going on to 9 years. So nearly a decade ago. If I hadn't made that decision right there and then after I made that decision, stuck to it, right? Followed through. Because we can all make decisions, but if there's no action after that decision, it's just a dream. It's just something that we throw out there and never actually catch hold of. But I caught hold of it. And I attached it to me emotionally. I attached it to me physically. And what I mean by that is emotionally, I stopped and I thought, like, right now I'm 30, 35 kilos heavier than what I should be. I'm all these things: miserable, depressed, hermit, alcoholic, binge eater, terrible relationship with food, etc., etc. Like I had all these things that were going on. Plus, we were a one income family. I was required to do, I was working, I was doing all that sort of stuff. I was feeding the family. I was making sure that we had money coming in. Blah 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 blah. I had all these responsibilities, and just in a really terrible place. I had suffered a miscarriage as well, a couple months prior to that. So emotionally, I was pretty screwed up, and I had a lot of things happening. But when I made that decision, part of that decision-making process was that emotional tie that I made to it. And I imagined what it'd be like if I didn't do anything about it. Like, sure, it would be great to lose weight. And that was kind of my focus. I wanted to lose weight. Sure, I didn't want to have a sick liver and I didn't want to be diabetic. I have people in my family who are type 2 diabetic. There's no way I wanted to go there. That was like, scary. But I imagined what it would be like to put on another 30, 35 kilos. And I emotionally connected to that moment. It forced me to take action because I emotionally connected to it. And then I physically connected to it by going downstairs and putting all the crap food, as I call it, into a cupboard, like taking it out of my pantry. So I kind of did a little bit of a revamp. Went and did some shopping, went and did some research. So I kind of physically attached myself to it. And then I just started, right? I made that decision. I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to be a little bit selfish right now. And I didn't tell anyone. That was the other thing. I didn't go around announcing it. No, I'm on a diet. Everyone pay attention to me because this is going to be really hard. I'm going to be on a diet. I was just like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to put my head down and I'm going to do it. And I've got all this stuff that I've looked at and all this research that I've done on gut health. And I'm just going to start. We'll see what happens. I'm going to see what happens. And yeah, that decision changed my life. That decision changed my life because here I am sitting with you lovely people right now. How cool is this, right? I'm sitting here with you guys, hanging out with you guys, sharing this story and hoping above hope that something that I say today resonates with even one of you that might be watching this. Whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching on the replay, I'm hoping against hope that this makes a difference to even one person. Because look at me, I'm one person. I'm just me, just Bridget, grew up in New Zealand, moved to Sydney. I'm a chef, I'm a mum, I'm a wife. I'm just me, right? I'm just an ordinary, normal person. And that one decision I made to be a bit selfish is the reason why I'm sitting here in front of you guys today. It's the reason why I'm sitting in this warehouse, this office. It's the reason why I've written 7 cookbooks. It's the reason why we have an audience across our various social media platforms of, 350,000 people who regularly tune into something that we do. It's the reason why Boost Camp exists. It's the reason why Bridget's Healthy Kitchen exists, because I made one decision to be a bit selfish. Imagine what you could do with one good decision. It's life-changing stuff. It absolutely is. And just kind of going back to pre-Bridget's decision to be a bit selfish, like I said, I couldn't even look after myself. And now I look after thousands of people, right? It's think about how just, it is an incredible transformation of someone who couldn't even look after herself, who now looks after thousands. Imagine what you could do with that one decision, right? Firstly, you're going to look after you, because quite frankly, that's all that matters. It is. And when I made that decision to look after me, I didn't give a rat's what everyone else was doing. I was like, you're on your own, mate. You're on your own, kids. Wow. I still went out shopping for them, but they had to look after themselves. If they were going to eat that way, which was not what I was eating, I was like, you're on your own. I don't have time for you to go all fussy and, snooty. Just go off and do your own thing. Then there's the stove, there's the pot. You're on your own. And look where that has come. Look how far we've come. So one of the biggest mistakes that I would make on a daily, and it would usually start pretty soon after I opened my eyes, exhausted, by the way, opened my eyes. I've been in bed for as long as I could be in bed. So I would go to work, go to my place of work where I would obviously make money for the family. And I would go there and I would do what I had to do. And then I would come home and then I'd go to my room. That was my behavior. On the way home, I'd stop at the supermarket and I'll pick up whatever crap that I wanted to eat. I'd stop at the liquor store and pick up a bottle of whatever I wanted to drink. And then I'd just go into my room and I'd just be there the whole time. I'd sit there with my old laptop, I don't know what I was doing at the time, watching crappy things, maybe on YouTube or I was writing a book as well, or trying to sort of collect all my recipes and thoughts. And I just spent pretty much, a couple of years in my room when I wasn't at work. And so when I would wake up after being in my room and being ideally in bed for sometimes 12 hours of the day, so half of the day I would spend in bed, or half of the day and the night. And when I would get up, I was starving, absolutely ravenous, right? And I would have binged eat crap all night, gone to bed straight up, probably with like a chocolate bar, under the pillow, right? Just completely ridiculous, behavior and relationship that I had with food. And then I'd go downstairs and my breakfast was always toast. I'd have toast or crumpets. I loved crumpets, toast and crumpets, a big mug of a latte. There'd be a couple of energy drinks in there because I was exhausted, had to have some energy, right? Because I'm exhausted all the time. And that's how I would start my day. And that day would start pretty much, that food consumption would start pretty much straight away. Because in my mind, and please, anyone, if you've had this experience, I'd love to hear from you as well. In my mind, I had to eat because I was tired and I needed to eat. Like, I couldn't even imagine leaving the house, like going off to do whatever I was doing for the day, going off to work. I couldn't even imagine leaving the house without actually, putting something in my gob before I left. Like, it just didn't even enter my brain that was a possibility. I grew up, and again, please let me know if anyone's like this. Let me know in the chat. I grew up being told that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, right? And I was also, and this has nothing to do with my mum and dad's parenting skills. It's just what they knew, right? They were just doing and passing on what they knew. And breakfast was the most important meal of the day, and I had to eat before I left to go to school. So, and it was usually toast. It was toast and honey, toast and jam. Sometimes it was cereal, but it was most often it was something starchy, right? It was a bready type item or a crumpets or something along those lines. And even from a young age, it was a big cup of coffee, lots of sugar because I was just a kid, and that evolved into big lattes of lots of sugar and energy drinks. I was addicted to Red Bull. Well, I thought I was. So, breakfast for me was always something, and I had very set ideas. I'm going to say excuses. I had very set ideas, right? You can't leave the house without eating. I've opened my eyes. I need to start eating now. But what's actually the truth behind that? When we actually look into this whole concept of breakfast, this concept of eating as soon as we open our eyes, a lot of what we're doing now is very much like myself, things that we were taught based on a system and an environment and conditions that, quite frankly, no longer exist for the majority of humans on this planet now. And what I'm talking about is when our roles, our jobs were extremely active. So, you'd be waking up when the cows needed to be milked, right? When the cows started mooing, you're waking up. So it's still the dead of the night, still dark. And often you're either going to work in the fields or you've got a very manual type of employment, type of job that you need to do, whether it's on a farm or it's something else that's quite manual. We were catching public transport. We were walking to wherever we had to go to. Things were, definitely not as convenient as they are now. There was no working from home for most people, unless, of course, your job was to look after the house. But then there was always lots of cleaning to be done. There was cooking that always needed to be done. Like, there was a lot of things going on, right? It was a busy life, but it was a physically busy life. And so that breakfast moment was actually quite an important moment. Now, I'm going back pre-war, right? I'm going back pre-1940s. Now, unfortunately, there's not, 1940s, well, fortunately, we are no longer facing some of the things that we faced in the 40s, but we are facing things that we never would have even expected is happening. And that, of course, what I'm referring to is the obesity epidemic, the health crisis that we face now. Because a lot of that thinking that we had back in the 40s, pre-40s, and those types of roles, those types of jobs that we had that now no longer exist, right? Machines do a lot of the farm work for us. Cows, cow dairy herds and people who tend and look after cows are getting less and less and less. People becoming farmers is getting less and less and less as things become more automated. And we're just not doing those jobs, but we're still consuming the types of foods like we were, or like we are still doing those jobs. And so, we've got this real hang up about breakfast being the most important meal of the day. But really, it all depends. What's your activity level like and what is your age? And if your activity level is not pre-1940s, and if your age is not pre-40, I'm going to say, probably even pre-30, like you're 30 years and under, and you're consuming foods like you still work on the farm and you're 25 years old, chances are you are sabotaging your day. Chances are you're sabotaging your day. Now, here are some 5 I want to share with you guys, just some real shocking truths that we need to unpack when it comes to breakfast times. What the heck? All right. So firstly, number one, the most important meal of the day myth, it doesn't exist, right? The truth of the matter is breakfast is actually made up of 2 words. As we know, breaking your fast, right? So it's when you first start eating after being asleep and not eating for some time. So it's your breakfast. And that idea that it's the most important meal of the day is only dependent on your age, like I said, your activity, and we also have to be mindful of your health status as well. Because what we now know, and lots of studies to prove this, is that skipping or delaying your break fast, right? Breakfast doesn't mean you have to have it at 8 o'clock in the morning. Because if you break that word down, break and fast, right? Break fast. It's when you break your fast from the night before. It's not time dependent, ladies and gentlemen, right? And what these studies are now showing us is just that simple delaying of when you break your fast, right? You delay it by a couple of hours. You don't break your fast until 10 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, or 11 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock, whatever it is, whatever your time is. Even that delay of a couple of hours, right, that delay will improve your health markers, especially those markers in insulin-resistant individuals. So someone who is already struggling with blood sugar, who is already struggling with high insulin. So I'm not saying skipping breakfast, because here's the thing, you don't ever skip breakfast. How is that a thing? Can you work that out? You don't ever skip breakfast. Nobody skips breakfast, right? Because breakfast is when you break your fast. Even if you break it at lunchtime, that's not your lunch, that's your breakfast. That's when you're breaking your fast. You never skip breakfast. Never. Because at some point in time, you're going to break your fast. That's what it is. We've got to start to get used to the word being what the word actually is. And breakfast is not time dependent. You can break your fast whenever you break your fast. Some people don't break their fast until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I don't recommend that at all, but some people, they do. It's still your break fast because it's still when you break your fast. You never ever skip breakfast. And I think we need to get rid of that notion that breakfast is time dependent, because it's not. Sometimes it's time dependent because, you've got to have it on your break if it's, work dependent. But because it's 8 o'clock on the clock, right? You look up, you're like, oh, or you look at your phone, oh, it's 8 a.m. I've got to eat now. But do you? Do you really? What if you're not hungry? So here's another really important study or important fact for you guys. The majority of humans do not wake up hungry. If you do wake up hungry, right? If you wake up and you're starving, that's because chances are what you did the day before was not as good as it could be. I'm talking nutrition-wise, right? If you wake up starving in the morning, first thing you open your eyes and you are consumed by the thought of food, this is probably because, more often than not, is because whatever it was that you consumed the day before has caused your blood sugar to be spiked overnight, and you have literally woken up with sugar on the brain. You've woken up high and you need to stay high, and your body's like, let's get high again. Let's go. Majority of people do not wake up hungry. But we've grown up. We've been taught. We've experienced especially in our more in our younger years, when we're very impressionable, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And so we are used to eating at a certain time. So one of the biggest changes I made, is I stopped looking at the clock as being the thing to identify when I would eat. And I started listening to my body. And as I began to listen, and at first my body didn't want to play nice. I was waking up starving. Like, it's all I could think about, because I'd spent the night, eating potato chips, chocolate bars, and KFC. So of course I was high. I went to sleep high on sugar, woke up with elevated sugar. My blood levels were always elevated, needed to get high, needed to stay high. So of course I was always starving. So at first my body, it responded slower, but I began to listen to my body and began to eat a little bit more intuitively, as opposed to, it's 8 o'clock, where's my breakfast, right? Where's my food? And when I made those changes, and it took a while, right? At first, I would be still sort of kind of eating around about that 8 o'clock mark. And then as the food I was putting into my body changed so dramatically, I realized that I wasn't waking up obsessed with food anymore. And I'd get up and I'd kind of be doing stuff and I had a bit of energy, And I found that time, that delay of when I actually started when I would break my fast, just got later and later and later, until now I'm at this really comfortable moment of having my breakfast or breaking my fast at around about 10:30 to 11 o'clock. Just kind of how my body likes to work. I'm often awake at 4 or 5 in the morning. So that's a really nice delay. I still have breakfast, but I'm able to delay it just that much that I give my body a really nice fasting period without trying. I give my body the opportunity to lower its blood sugar first thing in the morning, because you're naturally high when you first wake up. I give my cortisol time to come down as well. Because another thing that eating too early in the morning will do, not only will it spike your blood sugar, because everything you eat gets converted into sugar in your body. So you will get a sugar spike, which means that if you've already got high blood sugars, you've just sent them soaring, especially if you're not eating the right foods. We'll talk about that in a second. But also your cortisol is naturally higher in the morning, because that's what wakes you up. And eating foods, which are your typical Western breakfast foods, right? Typical, and I'll show you what those are. Top 4 typical Western breakfast foods. And you eat when you're already a little bit high in sugar, and you're going to get a sugar spike, and your cortisol is already high, and that cortisol / blood sugar spike will work in conjunction to be high cortisol, even higher blood sugar. So it just makes sense, doesn't it? That you just delay your breakfast. You won't expire throughout the day. Trust me on this. You have enough, we all do, have enough stored energy on our body to get us through days of work. You're not going to run out of energy. In fact, what you will probably do, and this is a really cool part by that simple delay, is you will actually give your body the opportunity time to burn fat as fuel. Because when you keep your blood sugar stable and low throughout the day, your body still is going to produce energy because that body's smart. It knows how to do it. But it'll just do it with a different fuel source. And that fuel source, guess what that is? Fat. So even by delaying your breakfast, delaying your breakfast by a couple of hours in the morning, you're actually giving your body more opportunity to be a fat burner instead of just being a sugar burner because you've just had your breakfast and it's full of sugar. And you're going, I don't put any sugar in my breakfast. Yeah, but do you really? We're going to talk about that in a second as well. Are you eating sugar and you don't even realize it? So breakfast, the most important meal of the day, breaking your fast is the most important meal of the day. That's number one. Okay, number two, did you know that up to 80% of people, especially in West, we're talking about average Western country, so Australia, New Zealand, the UK, parts of Europe, North America, there's a lot of Western style countries throughout the world. So 80% of people poison their day by what they start their day with. So that first meal up in the morning, 80% of people. In fact, the average Western breakfast contains over 55 grams of sugar. 55 grams of sugar in the average Western breakfast. And if you're sitting here going, you're wrong, Bridge, I don't eat like that, I don't have sugar, I don't put any sugar in my food, I would stop putting sugar in my coffee. But if you are eating like this, give me a second to find it. Come on. Oh, there it is. Oh, lost it. If you're eating like this, by the way, this is extremely common. Extremely common. I'm just going to take that off for a second. This is extremely common. If you're eating like this, maybe not exactly these things, but if you start your day with cereal and milk or porridge, oatmeal, if you start your day with going off to Boost Juice and getting yourself a smoothie bowl, or going down to your local cafe and asking for a acai bowl, right? Lots of berries. Or you start your day, like I used to, with toast and crumpets and jam and Nutella and Marmite and Vegemite and all that sort of stuff. Or you grab a quick muffin, donut, croissant, what else? Bacon and egg roll with your coffee from your local cafe. If you start your day like that, even though you're looking at this going, where's the sugar? I can't see any added sugar. You are getting in your day, you are getting more than 55 grams of sugar, and that's in that first meal. That, by the way, is more sugar than your body actually requires for a couple of days, and you're getting it in one meal. Toast and jam, toast and honey, marmalade, whatever it is, right? Cereal, Special K as you're running out the door. You are getting all of that added sugar. If you stop at Starbucks and you get you a muffin, if you grab yourself a bacon and egg roll from the cafe downstairs at work, or you walk downstairs like I used to do, and the first thing you do was pop those crumpets into the toaster, you are getting more than 55 grams worth of sugar, and it's 8:15 in the morning. Well, we know what that's going to do to you is you're going to get high. You're going to get high. If you're saying I really struggle to start my day without toast and jam, that's because you're addicted to the sugar. That's as simple as that. And if it feels really confronting that I'm saying to you, that you're addicted to sugar? If you start your day with orange juice, this is for you, Joe. Orange juice is one of the most unhealthiest things you can put into your body. You're addicted to sugar. That is an addiction to sugar. Orange juice, put it this way. Let's just say in the average size orange, right, you're getting something like 70 to 80 calories. I'm going to lay it out quite simple because we all understand that about 70 to 80 calories in one orange. In one glass of orange juice might be 7 oranges. So that one glass of juice that you can glug, 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 run out the door, you have just got the equivalent of 700 calories. 700 calories worth of sugar has just gone into your body. What do you think that's going to do to your blood glucose? You're going to get high. And you're going to be on a high for a couple of hours until you come crashing down, and then you've got to have some more sugar to get you high again. Juice and any type of smoothies and shakes, all that sort of stuff is the worst thing you can do to start your day. It is unfortunately one of those hang-ups we've had that orange juice is really healthy. It's not. Apple juice is not healthy. Pineapple juice is not healthy. It is loaded with sugar. It goes into your body. It's liquid, so it makes you high really fast. You get a massive spike really, really quickly, and you go up like a rocket, and what goes up must come down. But unfortunately, when you come crashing down, you crash so hard, you start getting angry. You start feeling like jittery. You start getting like for some people, they literally are visibly angry because their blood sugars have dropped so low because they had such a sharp spike. And we're doing that before we leave the house. And we're doing that before we leave the house. Here's a really scary thought when we talk about cereal, right? I honestly believe the cereal aisle is one of the most dangerous aisles in the supermarket because it's marketed towards kids. It's full of sugar. Now, we did this not long ago, like how much sugar's in your cereal. And, we're talking, ridiculous amounts, like 40% of a breakfast cereal is made of sugar and the other stuff is starch. Because it's not just the sugar that's going to get you, it's the starch as well. So our number 2 is that 80% of people, if not more, start their day high on sugar. They start their day with cereal. They start their day with healthy juice. They start their day with smoothie bowls. They start their day with toast and crumpets and health bars and breakfast bars that are just loaded in sugar and starch. And they are getting a cortisol spike, remember, which is your stress hormone spike, and they are getting a blood sugar spike at the same time, and then it comes crashing down, and they wonder why by 3:00 in the afternoon you feel like you need a nap because you've just gone up and down the entire day. So if 80% of people are ruining or sabotaging their breakfasts with so-called healthy foods, where does starch come into it? So number 3, firstly, we've talked about number 2, which is poisoning ourselves with sugar and not knowing it because we just assumed it's healthy, right? That's number 2. Number 3, like really, I think, shocking truths about breakfast is the starch effect, the starch bomb that I like to call it. And what happens when you eat starch? If you think about it, starch is quite gluey. So we are literally starting our day by filling our gut full of glue, full of sticky, high starch breakfast. And I'm going back to the oatmeal. Now, oatmeal porridge is so incredibly high in carbohydrates, yet it's so still considered to be a health food. It really is not. Because again, when porridge was a popular breakfast staple, our lives looked a lot different than they do now. And we were manually in working, right? Our days were physically draining, physically busy. We're off doing things. We were walking miles to school. We definitely weren't getting dropped off at the gate and picked up at the gate as well. We were walking to school. We're running around when we're at school. We weren't sitting there on our phones all day. I'm talking as kids. But even as adults, we're going and doing quite manual physical jobs. It's changed. We don't do these things anymore, yet we're still eating like we do. We're eating like it's 1940 when it's actually 2025, and we're all sitting around and we're all driving around and we're all glued to our phones and our screens, and we work in chairs, right? And if we are at home, we've got a blimmin' Roomba that's doing all the vacuuming for us. Like, it's changed, yet we still eat like it's 1940. And because we're still eating like it's 1940, that high carbohydrate way we're starting our day, that starch and sugar way, that starch bomb, how we're starting our day, is turning into glue in our body. It's destroying our gut health for a start. It's causing inflammation and leaky gut, right? We're getting these sharp rises in blood sugar, because this is the other thing about starch that a lot of people don't realize, is that starch, and I'm talking about things from white flour is a starch, right? Most breakfast items are either made from wheat, which is white flour, or even wholemeal flour, even though that's nowhere. Wholemeal flour is just, please don't be confused or alarmed by this statement. Wholemeal flour is not healthier than white flour. If you're buying wholemeal bread, think you're doing the healthier thing, you're not. It's the same, because it's still that massive amount of starch that's in that product. And starch has the same effect on your body as sugar. Sugar and starch are the same. The way that your body digests it and the way that your blood glucose responds to it. So we're getting these sharp energy highs. You're high and then you're crashing down. And another really kind of crazy thing is there's more sugar, naturally occurring sugar and starch effect in your healthy bowl of porridge than there is in a chocolate bar. You're better off starting your day with a chocolate bar than you are sitting down to that healthy bowl of porridge. Because are you just having the porridge on its own? No, chances are you're adding some type of dairy to it, or even non-dairy. And a lot of those non-dairies have sugar as well, by the way, and oil. Like if you're putting almond milk in your porridge, you're just having a whole lot of oil, usually sunflower oil, sugar, rice malt syrup, all the same, right? Often in those healthy porridge bowls, you want to add some type of sweetener. You don't want to just have almond milk and oatmeal or porridge. You've got to have something to make it sweet. So maybe you're adding honey. Well, unfortunately, honey has the same effect on the body as sugar, because honey is basically fructose, right? Or if you're not having honey, maybe you're having coconut sugar, because that's healthier. No, it's not. It's still sugar. Or maybe you're having brown sugar. Maybe you're having organic sugar. Still sugar. Still has the same effect on your body. Or maybe you're having fruit. Still sugar. Still sugar. It's all sweet. Maybe you're having maple syrup. Even worse. Really, 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 really high on the glycemic index. Going to give you a nice addiction there, that the good old natural maple syrup. So that healthy bowl of porridge, what does it really look like? And what it really looks like is you might as well go and grab, please don't though, but you might as well go and grab yourself a block of, I don't know, violet crumble and have that for breakfast. Because this is the sort of sugar and starch spike you're getting. And it's one of the other reasons why I 100% do not recommend you drink oat milk either. For the same reasons, you might as well drink a can of Coke, because of the sugar content and the starch content in the oat milk, not to mention that a lot of the oats these days are grown with a lot of pesticides and herbicides. So I'm saying all this as a very proud Scottish woman, right? Okay, I'm saying this with a lot of pride of being a Scottish ancestry. Quite a big part of me is Scottish. So it's quite hard to say, but like I said, it's not the 1940s yet. We still eat like it is, or we still eat like we're in our 20s. when we're in our 50s and our 60s and our 70s, right? And we don't evolve, unfortunately. So number 3, it's the shocking truth. It's not just sugar that you need to be thoughtful and mindful of. It is the starch bomb, right? It is the food that we have been told for decades is good for us is actually the complete opposite. The juicing, the smoothies, all those juice cleansers, forget about it. Don't even go there, right? The smoothies that people start, the smoothie bowls. Where's that picture again? This like got super popular. This is like, whoa, this went off. Please don't do this. All right. See that thing down on the left-hand side there, bottom left-hand corner? That is an acai smoothie bowl. So, because acai is a very, very, very sour fruit, you can't just eat acai. You need a ton of sweetener to even make it palatable. It is so tart, you might as well sit down to a bowl of lemon wedges. It is tart. Acai is tart. Very popular at the moment, the old acai, extremely high in sugar in order to just make it palatable. So you've got sugar in that, whatever that smoothie mixture is made of. Could be sweetened yogurt in there as well. There'll be some added sugars. There'll be some type of syrups, whether it be honey if you want to go natural, or maple syrup or whatever. And then we've got some berries in there. There looks like a toasted muesli, blah, 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 blah. We are talking about a sugar bomb, an absolute sugar bomb. Just in that one bowl alone, you're high. You are high if you start your day like that. That's really, yeah. It's really. I've been kind of watching the explosion of acai cafes and restaurants like full on restaurants around Sydney. I'm not sure what it's like in other major cities here in Australia, but it's just going nuts, right? There's acai food trucks. There's acai. Everything. There's acai frozen yogurt, acai everywhere. And yet in my mind, I know the damage that stuff will do to your blood sugar, the damage it'll do to your inflammation, the damage it'll do to your gut, because it's so high in sugar, so incredibly high in sugar. So we always also have to be mindful of the starch effect, the starch bomb, right? Now, number 4, I want to share with you just these common breakfast foods, like some of the 4 most common ones, and what we can do to reverse this. So sugary cereal and milk is one of the most common. There is often over 5 teaspoons of sugar in your average breakfast bowl of breakfast cereal. And this will increase your fatty liver disease risk. If you start your day with cereal, or someone who does start their day with cereal, and if that someone is a child and you're thinking it's okay, they're a child, if that child is not as active as what they need to be able to burn off all that sugar, to be able to burn that off, like they've got to be super active. If your child is in any way a little bit sedentary, if your child is in any way, you're noticing there is some issues with that child's weight, like they're gaining too much weight for their little body, for their little frame, your fatty liver disease risk goes up by over 115%. And that is with children as well. In fact, children are being diagnosed with fatty liver disease now almost as many as adults. Children, I'll say it again, children are being diagnosed with fatty liver disease. They are presenting to their doctors, and their doctors are testing them and saying, your child has fatty liver disease. Now, fatty liver disease used to be known, it was an alcoholic condition, because it was alcoholics that had fatty liver disease, and this is like pre-80s. And they had to change the classification of it, because now they were getting people, being diagnosed with fatty liver disease who do not drink. Children, right now. being diagnosed with fatty liver disease. And fatty liver disease was an alcoholic's disease. But now you've got kids who are being diagnosed with fatty liver disease. And the amount of diagnoses in kids is going up and up and up year after year. Why? Because the other thing that's going to make your liver fatty is sugar and starch. So you've got what we now call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. They had to change the classification because our diets so dramatically changed, especially in the 70s and the 80s. So we have to be really mindful of all of these things, right? That we're talking about all the sugar in your average breakfast cereal, even if it's toasted muesli, you're going to have added sweeteners. You're going to have added sugar. Often they put sugar into even muesli, not because it needs to be sweetened. It's because it helps with shelf life, like shelf stability. They like to keep things on the shelf as long as possible, so that's why they put sugar into it. The other one that I was talking about is starting your day with a smoothie. Often now it's starting your day with a shake or a meal replacement is super popular now. And again, we're talking about the blended amount of ingredients that you're going to find in these pre-made shakes. They will overwhelm the liver. They will convert into fat. They are often full of whey products, so you're getting a massive amount of dairy in these shakes and meal replacements. They have different types of additives and preservatives. I did a count once of I think it was Opti Slim or one of those ones. I can't remember then. One of those ones you get in the supermarket, right? It was one of those low calorie meal replacement shake, strawberry flavor for breakfast, one of those ones. I did a count and there was over 60 ingredients in that one glass of shaky stuff that you're having. So, of course, when it comes to something like cereal, the obvious swap out, well, it's actually not that obvious. I'll show you in a second. For your cereal and your milk, I'm going to give you the swap out. I'm going to give you the swap out for your meal replacement shake. Basically, your replacement is a meal, not a shake, honestly. Another really popular breakfast is anything to do with like those, I suppose they're like those granola style, like you can get them in little yogurt parfaits. That's really, really popular as well. And again, we're talking like in a granola yogurt parfait type thing. You're looking at anything from 30 to 50 grams of sugar. Of course, these yogurt parfaits, not only are they going to destroy all your healthy gut bacteria, but again, you're going to be high. It's going to feed poor bacteria in your gut, which is going to lead to gut dysregulation and energy zapping too, because what goes up must come down, right? And of course, the fourth most common and dangerous breakfast is anything to do with the starchy toasts, the crumpets, the muffins, the croissants, the sourdough because it's healthy, all of that sort of stuff, the gluten-free bread because it's healthy, unless it's mine that you've made and you're buying gluten-free toast from the supermarket, you are eating a whole lot of starch. And what happens to starch in the body? It gets converted into sugar. So now I'm going to share with you the swap outs. So this is where we're starting, right? Cereal, toast, smoothie bowls, shakes, and all that sort of stuff. All that quick muffin, donut, croissant grabbed on the way to work with your coffee. And we're going to swap it out and we're going to change it. And we do to this. All right. These are some of the food that we eat on Boost Camp. They are. These are all Boost Camp breakfasts. All of them. So top left-hand corner, I call this breakfast hash. So it's like as you can see, there's fresh vegetables in there. There's some protein. There's a bit of an egg. There's just this beautiful, and then you crack the egg open, and it gets all gooey and gorgeous and delicious. I can see zucchini and broccolini in there, fresh herbs. Like this is the swap out for any of those breakfasts. You have to start, and this is important. Take notes. If you haven't already taken notes when it comes to your breakfast, you have got to start your day with protein. Why? Because protein is satisfying. Why? Because protein is healing. It's building. It's nurturing. It's good for your brain. It keeps you alert. You have to start your day with protein. Starting your day with a piece of toast is there's no protein there. Look at my breakfast, top left-hand corner, top right-hand corner. This is a okonomiyaki, my version of a Japanese style omelet. So there's cabbage in there because that's basically what is a cabbage omelet. There's eggs in there. You can put shredded up chicken in there. You can do whatever you like. So we've got all that beautiful protein in there, omelet style. Look at all those fresh herbs. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. Lots of fresh herbs. Your palate will be so excited. And you start your day with a beautiful Japanese omelet. It is a really popular one, by the way. Down the bottom left-hand corner, I call this a cowboy bowl. This is literally making up stuff that you got in your fridge, egg or not, up to you. You can put avocado in there. I've got crispy nitrate-free bacon. There's a big handful of different lettuce underneath it. I can see a fresh tomato. I can see capsicum. Underneath it will be some type of fermented food, usually kimchi and or sauerkraut. Start your day like that. Pretty colorful and gorgeous. And then we've got another one of my favorite here. This is I call this a taco scramble. So it's a flax seed wrap with some scrambled eggs, some fresh tomato and capsicum there, and then some avocado chopped up as well. I mean, who the heck wouldn't want to start their day like, look at the colors. You want to talk about eating the rainbow? This is eating the rainbow. This is eating the gut health. This is eating the positive bacteria. This is eating. This is how you start your day. You will avoid the blood sugar high. You will avoid the blood sugar crash. You will avoid the gut inflammation. You will avoid the hangry. You will avoid getting to 10 o'clock and going, I'm hungry again. I need another muffin. I need that packet of chips that I've got stored in my drawer at my desk. You'll avoid all of that because you're giving your body nutrients. You're giving it fuel. And by the way, all those meals that you see that you just saw, so all of these meals, big, decent, now I'm full, now I can really start my day, I'm satisfied meals, they have less calories than these meals. Less calories than that donut right there. In one of those meals, less calories than that donut. No wonder you're hungry if you start your day with a donut. No wonder you're hungry if you start your day with 2 pieces of toast and jam. You're getting a lot of calories, you're getting a lot of sugar, you're getting a lot of starch, you're getting a lot of energy, but you're actually not getting a lot of food. Whereas you could start your day like this and you're getting all of this goodness. You're getting all of this goodness. And your body's like, yeah, thank you. Finally, your body doesn't crave toast. Your body does not crave sugar. Your body does not crave jam. It does not crave Nutella. It does not crave that bacon and egg McMuffin. Your body craves nutrients. And when you find yourself craving foods, when you find yourself waking up starving and obsessed with foods, it's because you are nutrient deprived. You haven't been giving your body what it needs. You've been giving it a whole lot of sugar and a whole lot of starch and not much else. So we start our day with protein. Really important, right? Chicken, beef, lamb, salmon, eggs, tofu, lupin beans, chia seeds, protein. We then have to make sure as well that we start our day with fiber. Because fiber is what feeds your healthy gut bacteria. That's where all those nutrients that I'm talking about live. They live in fiber. What is fiber? Let's go back to that image. Fiber is those beautiful pieces of broccolini and zucchini in that hash plate. Fiber is all of these wonderful vegetables in that cowboy bowl, a bit of avocado in there as well. I can see nuts and seeds on there. Yum, yum, yum. That looks delicious. Fiber is that flaxseed roll. Fiber is that beautiful diced tomato and capsicum mix. Fiber is all that cabbage inside of that omelet. Fiber is the nutrients that your body actually craves. Fiber will make sure that your gut bacteria are healthy. Fiber will make sure that you're not getting a massive blood glucose spike and you're staying nice and stable so you're a fat burning machine. Fiber equals satisfaction. Fiber means that you're not going to feel constipated and you're going to have regular bowel movements. Fiber is going to ensure that your digestive health stays healthy. It stays good. Fiber is the best. Fiber is not Metamucil drink before you run out the door either. Fiber is eating all the stuff you've seen. When you make orange juice, when you make a smoothie, you separate the fiber from that plant that you've just smoothed or juiced. You ruin the fiber. So even though there is fiber in an orange, if you eat an orange, there's a bit of fiber. But once you juice it, you've lost all the fiber. You're just having sugar. That's the other reason why juicing and juices are just so unhealthy, because you're actually separating the good stuff from the nutrients. You're separating the fiber content. And what do your gut bugs need? It needs fiber. So you got to have protein and you got to have fiber. This is how you break your fast. I have a saying. And many sayings. I need a t-shirt with this on. We do not negotiate with breakfast. In other words, I would just go without and break my fast around lunchtime with a big bowl of something gorgeous, like a gut healing bowl, rather than break my fast with all that stuff you saw before, cereal, toast. I mean, even when I'm talking about like making my own chia pudding, I won't have my own chia pudding for breakfast. My body needs more than that. My body needs all of those vegetables, all that color. So I will always, always, always break my fast with the stuff you saw, well, basically this slide. I do not negotiate with breakfast. I refuse to. It's one of my things. And it's one of the biggest difference now that I know that I've made in my life on this journey, is that I no longer will negotiate with breakfast. So that is our how you can swap out your own foods. And just remember, right, that simple delay, number 5, that simple delay of breakfast can have so many benefits to your health. Lower your glucose, lower your cortisol, lower your inflammation, boost autophagy, which is that cellular cleanup cycle that happens when your glucose is low. And of course, you become a fat burning machine, as opposed to, I've just eaten some toast and now I'm going to burn off all that glucose from all that toast that I've just eaten. Who doesn't want to be a fat burner, right? Who doesn't want? So I hope you guys have got some information out of today. A few little home truths. Maybe you need to reevaluate how you start your day. Maybe it's time to come over to the dark side and join a boost camp, because you're just going to learn all this. This is just going to become innate in you. It's just going to become automatic. You're just going to be like me, and you'll be like, I don't negotiate with breakfast. Sorry. I know I'm on a cruise and I'm looking at this buffet right now, but I don't negotiate with breakfast. I'm going to start my day with a beautiful salad. I'm going to start my day with some vegetables. I'm going to start my day with a simple mushroom and avocado omelet. I do not negotiate with my breakfast. And like I said, it is one of the biggest changes that I see in how my day evolves, how I continue to evolve, and the type of breakfast that I continue to create for our boost camp. So come on over to the dark side, which of course is boost camp, and you'll learn all of this. You'll learn why, and you'll learn how, and you'll learn when. And when you know those things and you practice those things, all of this, automatic. All of this, you do it in your sleep. So have a fabulous, fabulous day today, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Wherever you are in the world, be well and be safe. I'm going to end today's podcast with this, because it's breakfast time here in the office. It's time to break my fast. Have a great day, everyone. See you guys real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.